Good morning, everybody. It's Rod with Power Group. We're going to get started. Welcome back on the Pursuit of Wealth. It is Thursday, March 3rd, and we've got a great show for you today. Going to get started here in about 30 seconds to a minute. We'll give it a few more seconds for people to join us, and we'll get started with today's video. I see we have some people joining us. Welcome, everybody. It's Rod with Power Group. Welcome back in the Pursuit of Wealth. We're going to get started with today's video in about 30 seconds. We'll just give it another brief moment for people to join us. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Hey, Brian. Hey, man. Inja. Jelly Bean. We're going to get started with today's video. It is Thursday, March 3rd. Hope everyone is doing awesome out there today. We've got some bullish news with regards to Tilray and HEXO entering into a partnership. So before we jump in, make sure to smash the like, subscribe to the channel, take the bell, you'll be notified on any future updates. Going to go through the news today that dropped, and then we'll look at some technical analysis. And the stock was up, HEXO was up about 30% pre-market, but coming back down here a little bit here now that the bell has rung. So like I said, going to jump into this news, and then we'll look at some technical analysis, and then we'll do a quick Q&A at the end, and we'll just continue the discussion. So if you have any comments that you would like to address, just put them in the comment box below. So this is the news that dropped this morning. Tilray Brands announces proposed agreement for strategic alliance with HEXO Corp. This is pretty lengthy, so I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I'll go through it. There's also one from HEXO directly that I want to go over here as well, but this is extremely bullish. Smash the like if you're bullish on this news, but this is great news. We know that Tilray dropped their deal with Anheuser-Busch, so Budweiser, and we know that with Irwin Simon's recent Yahoo interview, I sounded a lot like HEXO's Sebastian St. Louis, former CEO, just focusing on CPG and a lot of the beverages and things like that of that nature. And we could tell that something was brewing, and we knew that HEXO said that they were working with BMO and Lazard, and Lazard's actually part of this deal and this transaction. So we're going to go through it here. So commercial and financial alliance would bring together Canada's top 2 MJ market share leaders to strengthen the operational efficiencies and product innovation to benefit consumers, shareholders, and the MJ industry. This provides Tilray Brands with approximately $20 million in interest payments for the first year, adding approximately 4 cents per share to future earnings per share, and on an equity conversion option into HEXO, well positions Tilray Brands to benefit from HEXO's accelerated growth potential. So a lot of people, a lot of companies, very interested in HEXO's growth potential, and I've been screaming from the rooftops for months now that the amount of growth potential ahead for HEXO is absolutely mind-boggling. A lot of people were thinking that Tilray and HEXO were merging. That is not the case. They are just purchasing HEXO's debt, so the convertible debt that we know that was used to fund the transaction for Redecan. So this could be converted into equity later on down the road, which would equate to about 37%, but I believe that has to do with the current share price. But likely whenever that gets exercised, if they convert it from debt later on, if the share price is higher, it's going to obviously not amount to that much of a percentage in the whole grand scheme of things, but we'll have to see how things play out. But just wanted to make sure everybody is aware that it's not a merger. It's something that could potentially be coming down the line. I joined the conference call. There was a lot of questions, and it was extremely bullish. So it's not completely off the table. Tilray and HEXO could merge at some point. I did a video, I think it was last week, but I showed a clip of a video basically saying we're in 4 different phases in the MJ industry. And right now we were in phase 2, and then we were going to enter into the blue chip phase, which was in phase 4, where we would see the mega mergers happen. So I think this is something that could happen later on down the road. But both companies expected to realize significant commercial benefits with production efficiencies and support services, savings up to $50 million. So we'll run through this here real quickly. So they announced the agreement for commercial and financial partnership that would bring together the two companies and their respective positions, and setting the stage for increased production efficiencies amid competitive market dynamics. And as we know, the best companies work with the best companies, and I think this is a great partnership for both companies overall. Let me know in the comments below if you agree with me. Under the terms of the proposed agreement, Tilray Brands would acquire up to $211 million US of senior secured convertible notes that were issued by HEXO and are currently held by funds affiliated with HT Investments. The notes would be amended to permit Tilray Brands to exercise conversion rights at a price of 90 cents per HEXO share, and that's Canadian, and acquire significant equity ownership and position in HEXO, driving meaningful additional upside and direct participation in HEXO's considerable growth opportunities. Irwin Simon, Tilray Brands CEO, said, "We believe this proposed transaction would be a win-win for Tilray and HEXO and would launch a strategic partnership between the two MJ producers with complementary brand portfolios." And on the call, Irwin just touched on brands and how important they are. And that's something that HEXO has a huge advantage and head start on compared to a lot of different companies. We know that their brands are absolutely fantastic. Their products, not only their products, but their brands, and they have some of the most IP and intellectual property out of all of the LPs. For us, it provides a path for meaningful future equity ownership of HEXO and enables us to participate in HEXO's share price appreciation as it continues to execute on its growth initiatives and on the path forward. We also expect to realize further commercial and production efficiency savings up to $50 million within 2 years, which would be shared equally and would allow us to continue being the leading low-cost Canadian producer. And I look forward to working with HEXO's management team and the board to create additional brand and shareholder value. The strategic alliance between Tilray and HEXO provides several financial and strategic benefits, including, so I'm not going to go through all this, accretion and flexibility, substantial synergies, increases the product breadth and commitment to innovation. As we know, HEXO has been one of the leaders in that category. Upon closing, Tilray Brands will nominate, this is also extremely important, we know that they were going to nominate another board member. So Tilray Brands will nominate Denise Faltishek to the board of directors, in addition to appointing one board observer. So they go through the transaction details. Under the terms of the agreement, subject to negotiation of the definitive documents and satisfaction of specific conditions, Tilray Brands would acquire 100% of the remaining $211 million outstanding principal balance of the notes, all of which were originally issued by HEXO to HTI. As consideration for Tilray Brands' interest in the notes, Tilray Brands would pay 95% of the outstanding principal balance of the notes, which would include accrued and unpaid interest of the notes, as well as any other agreed direct or indirect costs incurred by Tilray Brands in connection with the transaction. So we'll run through here. Among the various amendments to be made to the notes is the initial conversion price would be 90 cents Canadian, subject to the adjustments set forth in the certificates of the notes. So we're going through, implies that as of March 2nd, 2022, Tilray Brands has the right to convert in approximately 37% of HEXO shares on a basic basis. The purchase price would be satisfied in cash, common shares of Tilray Brands, and a combination thereof, and Tilray Brands' sole discretion. HEXO will not receive any proceeds as a result of Tilray Brands' proposed purchase of the notes from HTI. So we'll just go through this. Commercial transactions, transaction conditions. So the proposed transaction will be subject to a few different conditions. You can check that out there. Obviously, approval from the Toronto Stock Exchange, the NASDAQ. There was a conference call, like I said, that has already concluded, and it was an extremely bullish call. I'm going to let you guys go through this all in your own time, as it's pretty lengthy, but I would encourage you to go and read that. It's extremely bullish. HEXO also came out with their own. So HEXO and Tilray Brands agree to create a strategic alliance, bringing together two Canadian MJ leaders. And I just want to highlight some of the highlights here. So proposed restructuring of notes eliminates the monthly redemption feature, some of those nagging debt factors that were tied to that convertible note that have been really, diluting HEXO for the last little while and really hurting the stock. And the redemption feature amends financial covenants, extends maturity, and releases of US $80 million in restricted cash to fund operations and strategic initiatives. Both companies expected to realize commercial benefits with production efficiencies and support services up to $50 million within 24 months, to be shared equally between HEXO and Tilray Brands. Also, another important, so if you remember Adam Arviv, Chaos Capital and partners to provide additional 180 million Canadian of 3-year equity backstop commitment to maintain newly robust balance sheet. So we're going to go through this a little quicker here now. They announced, they just basically reiterate a lot of what we just went through. So my top priority since I joined in November has been to fix a very challenged balance sheet as a result of the notes that were previously put in place. And today, after an exhaustive search for alternatives, we are announcing that the most optimal agreement to strengthen our balance sheet, preserve value for shareholders, and provide HEXO with the capital to execute on the path forward, said Scott Cooper, the CEO. And as we know, they were working on a number of initiatives and plans that would be beneficial to shareholders ahead of the annual general meeting, which is March 8th next week. So let me know in the comments, everybody, is this what you were expecting? Does this meet your standards? Does it pass the smell test? Do you approve of this? Obviously, we need to get shareholder approval as well. But a lot of people were disappointed, thinking that the new board changes and things like that was going to be what they were alluding to, and a lot of people were just not happy with that as as being a strategic initiative and plan. So this is huge, in my opinion. Super bullish. This strategic alliance will help lower our costs, preserve our standalone optionality, and we look forward to reaching a definitive agreement shortly. So we'll run through this. HEXO, restructuring HEXO's debt, critical first step in allowing the companies to move with the path forward strategy, yada, yada, yada. So said Mark Adanasio, which is the new chair of the board. The company has endured a crippling overhang for the past 12 months due to punitive redemptions and discounted dilutive financings, and we needed to solve the issue in order to make positive progress. The new deal accomplishes this and places HEXO solidly on the path to growth. In addition to the restructured debt, HEXO also signed an agreement with Chaos Capital and partners to provide 180 million equity backstop to the company to maintain HEXO's newly strengthened balance sheet and ensure that all interest and operational costs are covered going forward. So some brownie points there for Adam Arviv and Chaos Capital. Our first priority was to refinance the debt that the company had taken on, said Adam Arviv, the CEO, and by bringing on Tilray as a strategic partner and alleviating the unsustainable monthly redemptions, we've allowed HEXO to refocus their strategic plan. In order to reiterate our support and give the company room to grow and realize its immense potential, it cannot be understated. We've also put a substantial backstop commitment in place, and in doing so are very confident in HEXO's new outlook. And we knew that just a couple of weeks ago, Adam and Chaos Capital were very, very bleak and not very happy with HEXO, and now they're super positive. So they go on to mention just reiterating a lot of what I just went over. Let's just go. So in connection with the purchase of the notes, Tilray Brands and HEXO intend to extend the maturity date by 3 years to May 1st, 2026. So that was in 2023. They extended that by 3 years in order to provide HEXO with the flexibility and time to continue implementing its path forward growth plan. So we'll go through this standby commitment. I did want to highlight one other thing. Yeah, here it is. So transaction advisors. So we knew that they were working with Lazard and BMO. HEXO said that. Obviously, they didn't say that they were working with Tilray. It was pretty secretive. But Lazard is serving as the financial advisor, and Norton Rose Fulbright Canada LLP is serving as legal counsel to HEXO. Canaccord Genuity Corp is serving as financial advisor, and DLA Piper Canada LLP is serving as legal counsel to Tilray Brands. So that's pretty much that in a nutshell. Going to move on. I did a few videos actually on HEXO. Are they going bankrupt? I said, there was a lot, expect the unexpected, and that's exactly what we got when we least expected it, and news that no one really didn't see coming at all. And a lot of people were calling for bankruptcy. I said that was absolutely ludicrous. There's no way that was happening anytime soon. There were so many options, and likely going to be something that we never even thought of. And sure enough, that's what it was this Tilray partnership. Could even lead to a merger later on down the road. Who knows? It could have a lot to do with HEXO knowing that they're a lot undervalued right now. And Tilray probably knows that if they were going to purchase HEXO right now, that they would have to pay a huge premium because HEXO knows that they're worth a lot more than their current share price. And that might have upset some Tilray investors and shareholders. So we'll see what comes of it. But I think this could be, and it could have even been a poison pill, that debt, right? That mentioned that many times. But I did a video here after that agreement with Adam Arviv, just kind of joking around, but being serious at the same time. Agreement reached, commence world domination. And seems like we're on our way to world domination. Also, in other news, Trust Beverage Co. announces Dave Schlosser as president and CEO, probably butchering that. So this is good in my opinion as well. We know that the CEO of Trust, which was Scott Cooper, is now the CEO of HEXO, and we need somebody 110% attention given and devoted to HEXO. So this is good that Trust has a new CEO, and we should see Scott retain his position as the CEO and really dedicate his time and attention. Hopefully 110+% that HEXO really needs and deserves at this point in the path forward. So that was super bullish. Also, the board of directors is updated here now. So Mark Adanasio is on there as chair of the board, and Rob Godfrey there as a director. So it didn't take them long to update that. Also, just as a reminder, we have the annual general meeting, like I mentioned earlier, on the 8th, so Tuesday next week. And then tentative earnings date is March 17th. It's usually around a Monday, so we're going to likely see a confirmation from HEXO at some point next week on when their earnings are going to be. Really, realistically, it could come out any time between now and next week. And we should find out when the actual earnings date is. So take that with a grain of salt. We'll want to see official confirmation from HEXO. But as of right now, it's tentative for March 17th. EPS is forecasted at negative 0.072, and this is Canadian. And forecasted revenues coming in at 59.59. I think we're going to have a slight beat on that personally. We know that Redecan just launched edibles and into Atlantic provinces. They also just launched products into Quebec. So I think even the next quarter after that in June is going to be huge as well. Tentative for June 15th. But I think we're going to have a slight beat on the, I'm going to say somewhere between 60 and 65 million for the quarter coming up here Q2. And like I said, it's going to be very interesting to see because we know Aurora just posted 60 million, and HEXO likely going to pass Aurora this quarter. Certainly the next quarter, I would think, after the Q3 earnings in June. So this is going to be something that I'm going to be keeping an eye on. We know that HEXO signed a partnership with Can for their beverages, which is a leading company in California. We know that HEXO also has a special purpose vehicle to enter into the California market with their readies, their pre-rolls, and the gel caps. So that's something that we can potentially see. We know that they have a Fortune 200 partner signed as well. So there's a lot of positive momentum and catalysts coming down the pipeline for HEXO. Taking a look at the chart here, we'll take a look at some technical analysis, and then we'll look at the chat here and get into some discussion and just get a feel of what everybody thinks about this news. But taking a look at HEXO here, so we did hit a high. I think at one point we were up about 27% pre-market. So if we take a look at the low, we were up to the high of the day here at 68 cents after the bell rang. So we had resistance, key resistance at 72 cents, which was the high of the weekly bounce. So we have the low here, the all-time low at 46 cents USD, the high of the bounce at 72 cents. And then we were looking for a higher low compared to 46. We got as low as 47 cents. So basically a double bottom. And here we are on the verge of changing the weekly trend. If we change the weekly trend here and confirm a weekly uptrend, that will be the first time since the highs of February last year. So we entered a weekly downtrend, and here we are. EMA 12 has been rejecting the price as well. So we're going to be watching for a weekly candle close over that to signify some huge momentum shift. But that is sitting at 75 cents, also a psychological number as well. So if we can close this week over 75 cents, that's going to be extremely bullish. And we'll want to see that weekly uptrend confirm. Like I said, that'll be the first time since the February highs and a notable momentum shift. We know we have positive U.S. legalization news coming into potentially into April and May. I've been saying that I really think that for a couple of weeks now that I think that we're going to see a huge rally in MJ into April and May. But if we just take a look at the monthly time frame, we're getting close to starting the monthly bounce. So we have the resistance, like I said, at 72 cents. If we confirm the weekly uptrend, the monthly bounce will be underway, and we have really no resistance up until 755 here. So it's pretty easy to get excited just thinking about the future and the growth potential here on HEXO. Just to go from current levels up to the February highs, you're looking at about a 16x. So that's about $1,000 into $16,000. Not financial advice, this is for entertainment purposes only. But if we were to even see all-time highs again, you're looking at a appreciation of about 45x. So that is huge growth potential in terms of the share price. We know that the stock has been absolutely destroyed, but again, I wasn't worried about HEXO because the whole sector was in the dumps, right? And even CGC broke to a weekly lower low here. So continuing that weekly downtrend and failing to change that weekly trend. So CGC, one of the weaker ones here. HEXO held it, double bottom, and here we are on the verge of changing its weekly trend. If we take a look at Tilray, Tilray held its weekly support at 515, and we're just looking for that higher low. And if we can break resistance at 748, that's going to confirm a weekly uptrend. We need to see weekly uptrends across the whole sector to be confident. Weekly uptrend in HEXO is great, but we need to see the whole sector confirm weekly uptrends, or else we're not 100% confident that we're going to see a macro level reversal in the sector. MSOS also getting close to its support here, an all-time low at 1955. So again, just looking for that higher low and weekly trend change, likely going to favor a type of equilibrium and tightening range here with the size of this pullback. But SPY also confirming a daily uptrend. So we know that with the turmoil that's going on overseas with Ukraine and Russia, heart goes out to them, to everybody in Ukraine and everybody affected by that. But we can see here that the overall broader market is rebounding, which is great to see. We're starting the weekly bounce, and we confirmed a daily uptrend with the low, high, higher low, and higher high. So that means zoom out, and now we look for a weekly uptrend to confirm, because we confirmed a weekly downtrend on SPY, which was the first time on the S&P 500 since 2018 that we confirmed a weekly downtrend, but we didn't see much follow through. We confirmed it, we saw follow through, but then we had a huge lower wick rather, and basically negated that. So at this point, we're going to look to confirm a weekly uptrend and get back into bull mode. We lost the monthly uptrend, and EMA 12 is acting as support, which we held last month on SPY. So that was great to see. But I do think that we're going to see SPY potentially top out, form a lower high somewhere around the 460s to 470s. And then I think we could potentially roll over into a bear market. So it's going to be interesting to see how MJ really holds up going into this uncertainty in the broader market, right? How's MJ really going to hold up if the S&P 500 and the broader market enter a 6 to 12 month bear market, maybe even longer? I do think that MJ can outperform. What I think would likely happen is we see MJ run into the summertime, maybe into the beginning part, so maybe into the end of May, into June, and then we see a bit of a summer lull. We see sell in May and go away in the broader market, and then we see things start to pick back up again. Coming into September, we know we have the elections in the U.S. in November in the fall as well. So that could be our catalyst to spike some more momentum. But like I said, potentially seeing some weakness into the summertime here. But it doesn't mean that that we can't see MJ outperform. It remains to be seen. I do think that it has a good chance. I'm being very selective with my long positions, and right now I'm only longing a few different altcoins and MJ at the moment, and focusing on an S&P 500 long-term short position. But if we take a look at the weekly chart here for HEXO, we're back over the 10-week moving average at 61 cents. We also had a PowBot algo buy alert on HEXO and Tilray a couple weeks ago. So if we can close the week over 61 cents, that's going to be extremely bullish. And if we can close over 75 cents, that's going to be uber bullish, just taking a look at those weekly EMA 12s. But on a bare minimum, want to see it close over that 10-week moving average there at 61 cents. But we know that the MACD has been bullish now for quite some time on HEXO. That's one thing I've been pointing out for a while now, that this is the first time we had the weekly MACD bull cross since all the way back here in December of 2019. That was a long time ago, a couple years ago. And now we're finally seeing that MACD bull cross. And if you take a look at the MACD, we're a lot higher on this level here than we were back when we had that previous bull cross back in November 2019. You can see how much lower we were on the MACD, and now we're trending higher, and we're seeing that bull cross. That's exactly what we want to see. And if we take a look at when that MACD bull cross occurred in December 2019, it took about 6 months for the price to really start to take off after that. So if you take a look at where we had this MACD bull cross last time, or this time, it was in October. So if you look about 6 months out, you're looking at October, November, December, January, February, March, April. So into April is about 6 months. So again, if the past isn't always going to happen the exact same, but it's something that we can use as a blueprint and something to watch for. And like I said, we could potentially see a huge rally, in my opinion, into April and May. Taking a look at the weekly time frame here on the moving averages, we have nothing nearby until $3. The 50-day moving average was also acting as strong resistance, which is sitting at 63 cents. You can see here we're sitting right on it, trying to confirm it as support. So this is what we want to see. Before it was acting as resistance ever since we lost it, and here we are back testing it as support. So what was previous resistance is now new support. That's technically what we want to see, and as per classical technical analysis theory. And then we'll want to make our way up to that $1 area USD, which is the 100-day moving average, and then the 200 all the way up to 255. So pretty much going to wrap up the technical analysis here. Like I said, we're watching, just to recap everything here, we're watching for weekly uptrends. We need to see 72 cents break, and we need to see follow through to confirm that weekly uptrend. Like I said, that'll be the first time since the February highs of last year. Taking a look at the chat here. Good morning. HEXO up only 11%. Yeah, it's giving a lot of the gains back here since the bell rang, but I'm not selling any shares at the moment. Be a long time before I take any profit or sell any shares for that matter on HEXO. Maybe if we get back to $2, $3, I'll think about it. But until then, no interest in selling. I have a long-term no-touch account for HEXO and MJ, and then I have a swing account, and then a day trade account. So I may look to trim in those shorter accounts, but like I said, the plan right now is I'm not selling a single share for quite some time. Do you still think we need a reverse split? Also, Arviv investing 180 million. Yep, we went over that, and the reverse split again. It really depends what. It's the wild card is SPY, right? We really don't know what the S&P 500 is going to do. If the S&P 500 enters a brutal bear market over the next 6 months to a year, well, that could be some huge headwinds for HEXO and the MJ industry. So a reverse split might not be a bad idea. I don't think it's necessary. Even if it's voted for, though, they said that they might not carry on with it. And like I said, if we get the Fortune 200 partner, which I think is Kellogg's, if we get that news, if we get the special purpose vehicle for California market, we start to see positive earnings, maybe EBITDA positive, and then into the next quarter, maybe we have blowout earnings, and we have a huge beat on that. We could even beat on earnings in a couple of weeks and have a huge beat there. I'm not really forecasting a huge beat this earnings. I do know that the next earnings should be huge after that, because they just released Redecan in Quebec, and they also just released edibles in Ontario. So going to be really interesting, and for medical patients as well. So anybody in Canada can order medical directly from Redecan. So if you are a medical patient, that's something to consider. But reverse split, I still think it's like a 50% chance it gets passed or not. I don't know. I really don't know why everybody's so worried about the reverse split anyway. I don't think it's the end of the world. Like I said, they were going to do an 8-to-1, and then they revised it to a 4-to-1. So they even lowered it last year. So I'm not too worried, even if they did a 2-to-1 or a 4-to-1 this time. I wouldn't want to see a 14-to-1 by any means, but this news definitely helps and increases the odds that we may not see a reverse split. Good morning, Christian. Good morning, Claudio. Smash the like. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Jelly Bean. And not sure if you guys can hear that, but it sounds like somebody's drilling in the background. But going to wrap the live stream up here fairly soon. I see we have close to 50 people still with us. So if you're still with us after about 30 minutes in this live stream, I appreciate you sticking around all the way to the end. If you could smash the like, I would appreciate that. If you think I earned it here today. And high five, Turtle. Tilray gaining 37% optional stake in HEXO with 20 million annual interest payments and a lien on all of HEXO's assets for 211 million is a very good deal for Tilray. Absolutely. It's a win-win for both, really. And so I think he said on the call, I think he said if for every time HEXO goes up about $1 in share price, they make about 200 million, I think was how it broke down. Don't quote me on that, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what he said on the call. HEXO recently spent 900 mil acquiring Redecan, paid down about half of the debt, and gave up extra 37% to Tilray, about the size of the initial Redecan deal, for a fraction of the cost. Yeah, you could look at this as Tilray acquiring Redecan for 211 million and starting a strategic partnership with HEXO alongside of that. Yeah, that's what it was used to fund the cash portion of the Redecan deal, right? So, good point. Brian, I was thinking that Cooper was only going to serve as an interim. However, it seems he is here to stay. Good for HEXO. Yeah, I think he was with Molson Coors for 12 years. We know with everything that we know with HEXO and the JV with Molson Coors through Truss. I really don't think that Scott's going anywhere. I never really thought that he was going to go anywhere. A lot of speculation were saying that it was not to exceed 6 months, but I think that more or less meant he wasn't going to stay CEO at HEXO and Truss for more than 6 months. So a lot of people are, that meant he was not staying at HEXO and he's going back to Truss. I just think it meant he wasn't going to be CEO at both companies for any longer than 6 months. And then we had the new CEO of Truss come out today. So that solidifies it, and I think that's great. I think Scott's going to be a great CEO going forward. Feeling bullish, you bet, Jelly Bean. Join the club. Chris Hernandez, hey man. So this is not a merger, it is an alliance. Yeah, not a merger yet. So they're essentially, Chris, what they're doing is they're purchasing the debt, which they can later on convert into equity. And it's going to be a commercial and a strategic financial partnership as well, sharing a lot of those different manufacturing processes, and they mentioned packaging and just overall cost savings and really focusing on driving costs down and profitability up. And if you guys remember, I've been covering this for a while now, that B&M Bloomberg mentioned last year that they forecasted that Tilray and HEXO would be the first to profit at some point in 2022. So it makes you wonder if they knew something, right? But they said that all other LPs like Canopy, the major tier 1 LPs, were going to take a lot longer than 2022. And this is all playing out as expected. Any news on Kellogg's? Not yet. They're under NDA. So until there's an official news release, HEXO can't mention who the Fortune 200 partner is or when the products are going to hit the store. But we know that the production is currently underway, and they're working on the product line, and we should find out hopefully at some point this month or next month. And hopefully that drilling or whatever that almost sounds like a chainsaw in the background here in my condos, not bothering everybody too much. But going to wrap it up there. I see we're just over 30 minutes. I wanted to keep this stream a little bit shorter today. Wanted to go over some of these key points. So let's continue the discussion in the chat below. I'll try to get another video out as soon as possible. I had a death in the family, so I'm not 100% sure when I'll get the next video out. I'm going to be traveling back to Prince Edward Island from Alberta through this bereavement. Terrible news. My uncle passed away in a house fire, so it was a sad week in our family, and like I said, not sure how long I'll be away from the computer, but more than likely into mid next week. So once again, just taking it day by day, and with everything that's going on in the world and in Ukraine and Russia, and with this sad news in our family, it just really makes you appreciate the smaller things in life and not to take things for granted. So take the small wins, and this is obviously some great news, and hopefully it puts a lot of minds to ease, and some stress levels, diminish a few stress levels. Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate the condolences. Hopefully that helps, and if anybody has any further questions or comments, make sure to drop them, and we'll continue the conversation below. Always love hearing from you. Make sure to smash the like, subscribe to the channel on your way out. I would appreciate it. And we shall see you in the next video. Take care, everybody.